How we doing, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It's May, fellas. Can you believe it's already May of 2025? I am kind of shocked that we're already into the fifth month here,
And I haven't seen too many of those Justin Timberlake memes lately.
right? I saw a good one today. It was Justin Timberlake, Jonathan Taylor from Korn, and then Linkin Park. Everything you say to May, something about them all doing it. And I was like, I'm glad that this stupid thing you can only do once a year has evolved instead of the one with him with the spaghetti hair.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I get
yeah.
it on my birthday because I'm March 10th, and I always see the Mario billboard, which is really cool because Mario rules. But yeah, happy May 1st, everyone, and welcome to episode 601 of the Purple People Podcast. This is the post 2025 draft recap show. If you missed it last week, it was a fun one. We turned into tired old men by the end of the episode because it took forever.
Yeah.
But we did a live draft the fifth year in a row, and we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about all the draft picks, some of the transactions during that weekend, and then after all the undrafted free agents.
We're going to talk about how all the experts gave the Vikings a low draft grade.
Which I don't get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. I don't get it.
God
I also want to throw out
your quarterback.
Well, I think it's only because Minnesota only had like 4 or 5 picks during the draft, so I think that was what their main concern was.
But, I mean, when we send both J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner into the Hall of Fame at the end of their career, because that's how good of a draft pick, those are going to be, like, you can say that it's pretty good draft class this year because we traded up for those two last year, right? Like, it evens itself out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Rich Eisen, as much as he was glazing Shedeur Sanders for the last week, I'm surprised everything is not sore for him doing it. And I love Rich. Met him at the Super Bowl. Watch his show every day, but the unreal amount of coverage that got. But the last few days, it was pretty good because he's a Michigan alum. He loves J.J. McCarthy, and he was going to bat for him and saying, you know what, I'm just going to say it. After the first press conference that J.J. McCarthy made, someone asked him, say, what do you think you're ready to start? And he goes, I'm confident to go right now. And then we're like, basically Rich was like, I don't need anything else. You're going to call O'Connell and McCarthy's name together like you call McVay and Stafford. Like you do Reed and Mahomes.
And while we're talking about that draft and the quarterbacks and the low grades, Minnesota turned one of their draft picks into a later draft pick and their backup quarterback. So I don't really get what a lot of the bad things here are. I mean, the quarterback they got, they only really got for 1 year, but they're only paying him like $1 million or something like that, so it's not the worst.
Well, let's jump into it, Adam. I have a little familiarity with Sam Howell. They acquired Sam Howell from the Seahawks, and he was with the Washington Commanders before where he was drafted. And I'm a UNC fan. I've watched him. He is, I like to call him Diet Baker Mayfield. He's got the same kind of build, look. He's a gunslinger. He's got an awesome, effort mentality on the field, and he's not bad. I think Washington did him a disservice while they were there and didn't really provide.
Is he as effort as Nick Mullins?
Not quite, which is good. I like him to be a little bit scaled back. But I wanted to say something because you brought this up, and I heard this today or yesterday. But and it's Brockman on Rich Eisen's show. He's always the contrarian, and I love that dynamic about the show because he'll say things that really piss Rich off to get him to talk and have a good debate. And he says, I just don't trust the quarterback room. And I was like, you had a rookie last year, and up until last season, before it got started, you had Sam Darnold, who was basically a reject by the entire league. I don't understand what the difference is. You can't use the context of, well, we know what Sam Darnold could be now. Well, you don't know what Sam Howell could be.
Well, let's be honest, too. I have no idea what Aaron Rodgers would be this year. Or some of these other quarterbacks. No clue.
And to add to it, we also don't know what Sam Darnold is going to be without the Minnesota Vikings and Kevin O'Connell.
I can't wait to see what he is like in Seattle.
I'm a fan of his now. I'm rooting for him. I want to see him succeed. But I honestly don't know if I trust him as much in that environment.
I don't think it's going to look the same as Minnesota did. I think they're going to do smash mouth football up there, and I suspect a lot more play action like they had here, probably be similar, but I don't think it's going to look the same. But I'm with you guys. I root for Sam Darnold because I see what happened when you get drafted to the Jets, and then you go to the Panthers, who've been perpetually bad since Cam Newton left, and I felt bad for him there because you just want to see the potential in everyone, but it rarely happens because half the teams in the league every year are kind of a mess, and the other half are really good. So I'm rooting for him to be good and to prove everybody wrong and say, hey, look, this wasn't a flash in the pan year. I'm actually really good when the other people on the team and management do their jobs. But I hope he loses.
And for and for Sam Howell, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys I'm excited to have Sam Howell on the roster. Like
Why
that's
not?
that's
I'm not really
overstating.
familiar with him, to be
That
honest.
that's also fair. That's also overstating it a little bit. But like, I think that essentially all they did was trade back in the draft a
Mhm.
bunch of spots, and we picked us up a backup quarterback. And Sam Howell, in his defense, was drafted to potentially one of the worst franchises at that time. That was the end of the Dan Snyder era, like Washington football team commanders out there. So like that was a terrible no-win situation for him. He started some games in the NFL. He hasn't had a lot of success. Stop me if that sounds a little familiar to what we were saying about Sam Darnold coming into the Vikings. And also for Howell, he is coming in, I think, pretty clearly as the backup. Like I know that the team is going to sit here and they're going to maybe they'll try to spin it and say that there's a quarterback competition, but we all know that this is JJ McCarthy's team, and
Hey, he
so
still tears other meniscus. Who knows?
yeah, I hope not. I mean, it could definitely happen, but this is JJ McCarthy's team and his franchise, and so Sam Howell, you just got to be the backup quarterback, and like let's see, can you rehab your career in Minnesota?
I'm pulled him up now. He was drafted in 2022. Didn't start. He started in 2023. 3,946 yards. He would have been the Bears' all-time passer already. 20, fuck you, Chicago. 21 and 21 for touchdowns and interceptions, a rating of 78.9, 63.4 completion percentage. So um, pedestrian numbers as far as like it's not gonna jump off the screen to be like, wow, he doesn't turn the ball over or he threw for 5,000 yards. What I see is what I described earlier. He's a gunslinger. The ball will be turned over, but he can run an offense. And here's the way I
Right.
look at it, and this is the way I try to tell myself: is a fifth round quarterback isn't going to do what that a grade on a fifth round quarterback of any kind is usually backup anyway. But at least now we have one that has 3 years of
He's
experience in the league, and he can mentor JJ. And if you need to plug him in for a game or two, he might win one of those two games. So I appreciate that rather than throwing a rookie out there. And I'll say it, he got cut from his most recent team too. Like Jaron Hall didn't impress me like that. I trust Sam Howell more than I trust Jaron Hall. You know what I mean? I do. So I like this formula of, hey, let's go get a backup. And I'll be honest, I didn't have him on my bingo card. I thought it was going to be Ryan Tannehill or Carson Wentz. So I'm okay with Sam
and
Howell
they
because he's a
hey
little younger.
they could take a close look at Sam Howell in training camp preseason a little bit, and Ryan Tannehill is like still on the table. Like that could still happen, and he's enough of a veteran that you could bring him in a week before the regular season if you needed to, and like you kind of have your veteran backup taken care of. So I am okay with them rolling the dice on the Sam Howell train and just seeing what happens with it.
Yeah, so we jumped right into that. They got him for a fifth, I believe. They only made 5 picks on the day, but taking care of the backup quarterback situation was essential. There was a lot of debate going into the draft about this. I'm glad they addressed
Yeah.
it, and solid move. Didn't have it in my line of sight, but I love the move. I'm kind of a homer for any of the Tar Heels to succeed. But before we talk about any of the Vikings picks, let's talk about this because I've had this on my mind for a week. It's dominated
Shador
sports.
Sanders.
It's dominated everything for the last week, and I'll
How
try
did
to
I
keep
know?
it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Um, it felt like it was a little shocking he went that low, but a guy that went 13 and 12 in college and 1 and 8 against top 25 teams. I don't understand. Number one, he should have had his jersey retired. That's a whole my dad is Deion Sanders thing. And two is throwing yourself a draft party with all that stuff is really weird. It was like a Sweet 16, but you're 13 years old. It's really
He
weird.
had he had a briefcase with like $1 million in it allegedly that he
Yeah.
was did you see this?
Yes.
Uh I had heard from, because I've digested all the media about this as well too, that from a talent perspective, he's probably talented enough to be your third string, your backup quarterback in the NFL. But when it comes to the off the field sort of issues, and we're not talking about like, I don't want to say that I think he's a terrible person. Like, if there was a house on fire and there's a cat in a window and he's got a ladder, Shador Sanders would probably go save the cat from the burning house, right? Like, I'm not saying that he's like that kind of a piece of shit, but there's a lot of other drama that comes with him. The partying, the $1 million briefcase, the jersey retirement, all of that. It's the Tim
Hashtag
Tebow.
legendary.
It's right. It's the Tim Tebow effect
Yes.
of, do you want that in your locker room? Do you want every single press conference to be 20 questions about Shador Sanders? Do you want every player to have to answer those questions about your backup or third string quarterback?
Hey,
Probably
Shador Sanders
not.
already has the number 6 top selling jersey right now?
It might have even been the number 1 out of the rookie class so far, Adam.
It's pretty wild.
It's way up there.
I'll just say this. If you're going to have that kind of attitude and you're going to piss off a lot of people in your meet, this is a job interview. And,
Right.
I'm going to say the thing that you're not supposed to say, but I'm going to say it. I saw a bunch of people crying online saying it was racism and they were blackballing Shador and all this. The number 1 pick in the league was a quarterback you're not talking about who came from some really small school and then transferred to Miami, and nobody you don't give him his flowers.
Dude, I don't know much about Cam Ward, but didn't he come out of high school as like a 0-star recruit?
Yes, and we don't give him any love. Also, 80% of the league is black. Shut up. Shut the fuck up, dude. I hate this so much. It's lazy, it's ignorant, it's uneducated. Like, you look stupid when you say this, and the fact that the networks run with this only because they know it gets clickbaity and gets like eyeballs, it irritates me to all hell because.
And did you see how much of the media that got hit with the whole Atlanta Falcons Shador Sanders prank call thing?
Oh,
Then
yeah.
there was that lineman that got 5 prank calls.
Now that we can go into because that I'll defend Shador and these players on all day long. I don't think that finding the dad is enough. If I'm Shador, I'd say you got jokes. I got money and lawyers. Have fun with that because
it's not like he was the only one that prank called, and he only got prank called once.
Correct.
That poor lineman, 5 prank calls.
Yeah, so that should be something that could be handled legally. I don't know how deep it could go, but you can't do stuff like that. That's rude. It's stupid. It's not funny. But the thing that I don't understand, and
Kind of funny.
I'm being the old Clint Eastwood get off my lawn here, is okay. You're going to do something dumb that's not funny. That's an asshole thing to do. But you're going to film yourself doing it and put it online? You guys are fucking stupid. You're just fucking
That's the generation
dumb.
and age we live in right now.
But here's the thing. I'll tell you this, and this is why I'm Clint Eastwood in this situation, is they know that nothing's going to happen to them. And that's the part where I have a problem with it. I think you need to get your pee-pee smacked for that. And I think you need to hit it pretty hard, as we would say in the military. Like, bam, hey, that didn't hurt. Why'd you do that? Because you were an asshole. See, there's consequences for things. That's the thing I don't like about it. Finding the defensive coordinator for Falcons does fuck all to the kid. Now, if I'm the dad, I'm like, how can I make your life hell for a long time? But that you're not reprimanding the kid directly, and all it does is he's got a fun. Remember that time I pranked Shador Sanders? Like he gets away with it for nothing. So I don't know what the answer is. What they said,
DC probably didn't think he had to lock down that information around his family.
Well, I'll tell you what it is too. That I've heard this because I've absorbed sports media, as you guys know, following this show. If you're any sort of fan and listen recently, this was sent out to like everybody on the distribution list within the organizations, like the guy that works in IT, the air conditioning guy, all that. You have this list. How about you make a group of just the coaches and the scouts?
Do you
how
know
hard is that?
Hey,
that's how the Athletic gets your war plans, or not the Athletic, the Atlantic.
Do you know who needs the phone number? 32 people in the league. The general manager of each team needs the phone number, and that's it. The head coach, sure, let's expand it a little bit. Head coach, defensive coordinator, if we want to expand it to them as well too, but realistically, it really only needs to be your GM that
We
has
do it
that
at work all the
information.
time. I work for the government. If I need to send something that is sensitive security information, it's password encrypted. It's not that hard. So the fact that this kid had access to it, but what it shows, to Adam's point, is it didn't just happen to him. He's the most famous person that it happened to. It happened to many people, and what that tells me is, in the NFL, how dumb are you to be in 2025 to have this happen, to have anybody getting people's phone numbers? Because now what they're saying that probably will be a direction they look to go in. They asked Howie Roseman on Rich Eisen. They asked the Buccaneers GM, all that, because they talked about this, like this particular subject of prank calls. They're like, now we're going to have to do FaceTime so the kids actually know it's us.
Right.
And that's crazy to me because it's just a phone call. It should just be a phone call. But
Yeah.
some idiot kids had to be idiot kids, and I wish that they would get in trouble for it, but they won't, and it's annoying. But
I saw an interesting fact about this draft. Did you guys know that this draft is the last one that will likely have a player that was born in the 1900s?
Yeah. Yep.
We're old.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, I hate it so much.
Hey,
Oh man.
before we start breaking down the Vikings draft picks, and I swear, guys, we'll get there for a minute. I did want to ask you guys, now that we've had like a week and some change past the draft, like Travis Hunter, how are you guys feeling about the Jaguars trading up for Travis Hunter? Them saying he can play both sides of the ball. This kid, his energy is super infectious. He seems like just an absolute blast to be around. I love his energy. I love his willingness. I want to see him succeed. I don't want to tell him, no, you can't do that, because I think that he will use that as motivation to try to prove everyone wrong. I do wonder at some point he's going to lean one way or another for being either a better wide receiver or a better cornerback.
Yeah.
And do you lean into that, or do you continue to run the split with him?
I don't know if the NFL works that way to where you can really dive on both. I know they tried, you remember when Patrick Peterson tried doing a lot of special teams and then he was playing defense and too? I mean, that didn't really work out too well either. And I don't see playing both sides of the ball. You would exhaust yourself so much. I expect him to play a lot of offense and be used situationally on defense.
That's kind of what I think too, Adam.
Exactly what Adam said. Watching the Dan Patrick show this morning, Chris Sims was on there, and he says, listen, I see him doing this as a wide receiver, and I'll tell you why, because he was a good corner in college. He will get
he's got great hands and great ball skills.
Correct. And I don't like his size for wide receiver, but because of what Chris Sims said this morning, it echoes Adam's point, and it made me understand why everybody's been saying offense when I viewed him primarily as a corner in college. Flat out, Chris Sims said, you put that guy on Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, he gets burnt 10 out of 10 times.
I know he does. Yeah.
He goes, but if I put him on offense with his ball skills and I can put him up against corner number 2 and put him in as a slot receiver, or if he's not the number 1 option, he goes, he's going to have success. And what I really it made sense. We've been seeing it, but somebody vocalized it, and that's just how my brain works. When somebody just says the obvious, sometimes it just clicks for me personally. But all the NFL now is inside the numbers in the middle of the field. Find a way to get him there. He'll make people miss. He's a good enough athlete. Then you put him in for any kind of zone coverages or packages when you got to sub people on defense. And I said, okay, I viewed him as a corner, but what you're telling me is he's not good enough to be a standalone corner, but maybe I can throw him in from time to time. Now that, to me, I immediately find the negative in that and say, well, I know Travis Hunter's in, so now I know they're going to zone. Or maybe you're only running zone on one side. I don't know how it works. But
so depending on how you view Travis Hunter, it's really interesting, because if you view him as a generational talent, I think the Browns got a nice pick haul for him. But if you view him as a generational talent, I don't know if there is a pick haul that's worthy of giving up a generational talent.
There's both sides. You're right, Adam. You can sit on either side of the fence, and I think you would be right. I like the value the Browns got because next year is a better quarterback draft, and you could draft a quarterback every year. If I'm just talking about business management in football, get a quarterback every year. Why not? If you have the picks, do it.
Yeah.
They have a chance to really come up because I don't think they're going to be that competitive because they don't have a real good solution at quarterback. But I also like the move for the Jaguars because they're kind of just the extra team, the London team, if you will.
Yeah.
Now they have a legit
they went and got an extremely talented guy.
He's very talented, Heisman Trophy winner, and he brings eyeballs to that team, and that's fun. I don't think that's exactly like the number one reason you should have a team and the way you should run it, but it's okay. Like the Vikings.
Well, they got to do something to change that narrative in Jacksonville because right now it is not good.
Exactly. You got the quarterback. You hopefully got a coach who can bring the most out of him. Now you go get like a weapon. Okay, cool. Vikings have Justin Jefferson. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati, et cetera for every team. Nobody in Jacksonville up until this point is like, we got Trevor Lawrence. Aren't you excited? And we're like, I mean, I get we paid him like we should be excited, but I don't know that I am. Now you can say, well, we got Travis Hunter, and you're like, shit, that's fun. Let's see what that looks like.
Yeah,
right.
I like
it's
that.
Fun.
You know?
It's fun. It's exciting. It's like I said, I love the kid's energy. He seems like such a good, fun individual to be around. It makes it real easy to root for Travis Hunter. I want to see him find success in the NFL in whatever form that comes for him.
So outside of the Sanders drop, what was the biggest surprise for you in this draft?
Atlanta giving up a pick for a rusher they could have gotten in the second round. That was stupid.
I thought it was New York. I think it's a huge reach on Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart trading up for him into the first round when I feel like you could have got him in the second.
You could have.
I don't think they needed to move up as far as they needed to.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know. The trades didn't start until the night got rolling, which was fun for us.
Didn't the Cowboys trade for a lineman who had like a 4th round grade in the first round or something like that?
Oh, God. Did they pull a Raiders? Is Mike Mayock running the fucking show over there? God bless him. He sucked at drafting, dude. I don't know. Those are good. I like Jackson Dart the more I heard about him. Not for the first round. I totally agree with you, but I didn't know that his build was what it was. Like, oh, okay, he's durable. He can be a solution next year. But if you come back in to draft the quarterback in the first round, he should be legitimately pushing for Russell Wilson's job.
Didn't we do that with Teddy Bridgewater? Didn't they trade back in to grab?
They came back and got pick 32 that year, and came back and got him.
Quarterback is kind of the anomaly position. If you think there's a guy that even has a slim chance of being your long-term solution, like you kind of have to make that trade and overreach for him, though, Adam, because if you hit, you've hit, and you've got your 10-year solution for it. So if the Giants think that Jackson Dart is that guy, it doesn't matter if you and I are sitting here going, you could have got him in the second.
But as a GM, that's a big gamble for you on your job, on your reputation, too.
100%.
Right.
100%.
I think they did enough for the year, though, taking Dart out of the equation. I think they did enough for the year where they'll be more competitive. They got Abdul Carter. He's amazing. They have a nasty line now. And
that pass rush is going to be scary.
Yeah, and they went and got 2 adults, even though one of them is very hilarious and doesn't act like an adult. But they got.
I love Jameis Winston.
I wanted him to be a Viking for a year so bad.
I just want the press conferences. That's all I want.
I just want the media. You imagine 96 questions with him hosting?
Oh my God, that would be so good.
Yeah, I wanted him to be a Viking real bad. But
did you see the video of him throwing the touchdown with the frozen crab leg?
I did.
That, and there's one floating around now where he says gabagool, and he fucks it up really bad. It's so funny, dude. He's good. A character. He'll be great on TV after.
Oh, I know. I can't wait for him to be on Fox Sports.
The first quarterback that ever said, like, I threw 30 interceptions because my eyes were bad. I got LASIK. We're good now. Like, that's so damn funny,
funny.
But they have 2 adults in the room now, 2 veterans. Russell Wilson's on his last hurrah. Jameis is good, but you have
unlimited
2 you have 2 different quarterbacks to mentor him. But I think, yeah, it's a swing. To go back up and get him in the first round is really weird. I don't know what Atlanta and New York were thinking doing that. I don't think there was any first round picks that I thought were awful. Obviously, Shadur slid to the 5th, which is crazy, and they picked a quarterback in the 3rd, which I guess you got to look at Cleveland and be like, dude, why can you guys not get in your own way just 1 year? With no, you didn't have have to take that quarterback in the third round? You could have took anyone else if you were going to take Shador in the fifth. Why did you take two so close together? And they've already got Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. They're not keeping 4 quarterbacks.
I think the Shador pick was their owner at that point saying, just go ahead and just make the move and bring him in. But
we should probably. Their fans have been calling Dallas Turner a bust now for months. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. You can't call somebody a bust after 1 year. And if that's the case, then, and not picking on Firebreather, I'm talking about Vikings Twitter. If that's the case, JJ McCarthy's a bust because he didn't beat out Sam Darnold last year and he tore his knee up. So,
and I don't know if you guys have been listening to Kevin O'Connell's press conferences lately, but he is really excited about Dallas Turner this season.
Good. I like it. I'm ready for it.
Hey, spoilers. You can be excited for Andrew Van Ginkel, who is a phenomenal football player for the Minnesota
and just got a 1-year extension.
And just got a 1-year extension. And you can also be excited for Dallas Turner at the same time. You can do both things. You don't have to pick and choose.
It's true.
That's breaking news. Twitter is going to melt when they figure out you can be positive on there.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to share it. Here are your 2025 Minnesota Viking draft picks. I wanted a running back for some reason there, but now that I watched the tape on this dude, I'm really excited for Donovan Jackson. He sounds like a grown-ass man. He conducts himself very well in press conferences, and he held his own against most of the really good competition. And Ohio State just won a national championship too, so he knows about winning and playing against really good competition.
Did I see a stat that he only gave up like 2 sacks his whole career in college?
And on that too, Adam, we got to tell everybody he played left guard and left tackle because their tackle went down. So,
right.
I mean, he's awesome, and I think this is great. And there's a huge statement to be made with the Vikings beefing up the line the way that they did. Like 60% of their line is completely different from last year. So I'll take that in a heartbeat.
And there was no need to mess with those bookends. Those tackles they're fine. They're great.
On paper, the Vikings have done as much as they could possibly do to improve the offensive line. I'm not saying that it's going to work out and they're all going in the Hall of Fame. I'm just saying that they have tried their damnedest to address an area of need, and I applaud them for doing so. I love the draft pick. I think he's going to step in and be a week 1 starter for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, he should be able to beat up Blake Brandel. That shouldn't be too much of a problem for him, but you never know. I like that they have more depth too now because that was a problem as well. Yeah. I still do wonder, like, if Darrisaw isn't quite ready to start off the season, what they're going to do at left tackle. But, I mean, for now, the work that they're putting in on that offensive line between free agency and the draft, you got to be kind of excited.
You got to be excited for their whole free agency too. Like, we're only talking about the draft, but they only had 5 picks, so they did a lot of work in free agency, which is great. But I'm excited for this pick. This is really –
it's one of those things where when in doubt, like, you draft an offensive lineman or a defensive tackle from, like, Ohio State or Georgia. It's like you just know you're probably going to be doing pretty good if you're drafting those positions from one of those schools.
I was expecting a defensive back in the first 3 rounds there, but I didn't get that.
Wasn't there a safety that we were talking about that went right before the Vikings picked Adam?
Yes. Well, not there. Like, wasn't that the 3rd round where, like, they were? Or no, it was right before they were about to trade down.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So it wasn't that 1st round there. I think like some of those safeties that they could have gotten were there. But from what I'm hearing, they're still planning on doing a little bit of activity at cornerback.
Correct.
But I haven't really heard anything about safety, which is weird.
Oh, I know what I was going to mention, too, is that there was a run on offensive linemen when you hit the 2nd round. So it was one of those situations, I think, with the Vikings where if they were going to go on offensive line, they really had to do it when they did. Otherwise, there was not going to be much for, like, a quality starter by the time they were back on the draft board. And so that doesn't mean that it was a reach on who we got. It was position of need, and we drafted, I think, kind of ahead of the curve a little bit, too.
And Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell are both super excited to get these guys in there. I guess when they were talking to, like, the media and some experts and stuff, even outside of, like, televised meetings and everything. all they can do is just rave about the guys they got and how excited they are that they were there when they got to pick, and that's the kind of stuff you want to hear.
I also find the irony and hilariousness of an offensive lineman from Ohio State blocking for a Michigan quarterback. That to me is hilarious. I'm pulling up. I'm trying to find the comp here, but my computer is ancient and slow. I'm trying to give you Ty Felton's draft comparison. I know he's 186 pounds. I think he's at 6'1". So um, he's not huge, but everything that I read on him just a second ago in a scouting report from Bleacher Report was awesome. I love this, right? A plus level route runner with good timing to hit his landmarks. He wins with short area quickness and footwork, can shake defenders with hesitation maneuvers and rocket step technique. Separates well in the short and intermediate portions of the field. So
His acceleration is excellent. His top speed, and it might not be where you really want it to be for a guy to make huge plays and stretch the field a ton, but that acceleration will help him get open, and it will help him distract other defenders, especially with so many other weapons on this Vikings offense.
he ran a 4.37, and if you saw, like, I didn't know they did this at the NFL Combine, but I guess they call out each position group because now there are people in the stands. He came out and he did a sideways flip, and that's cool as it is on its own. But the height that he did that with, I'm going to pull the Shane Gillis here and be like, I was white guy shocked. I was like, oh wow, he's really athletic. And you're like, yeah, he's like a track star that's going to be a wide receiver in the NFL. Of course he is, you idiot.
That was sort of a trend of this draft, is the Vikings did draft a lot of really athletic guys. Some of the guys they drafted didn't quite have the production that you'd want, but they feel like they can work with them and get what they want out of that player. So
Well, and one of my favorite comparisons when we're talking about draft and a player that you're drafting based on talent, and it really worked out for the Vikings down the line, was Danielle Hunter. I mean, Danielle Hunter was a physical specimen coming out of college. We used to call him create a player in the NFL because, like, when you went on Madden and like you would just create your own player, you would create Danielle Hunter where you just max everything out. And like that, and like look at the career that he had for the Vikings.
But the knock on him too, like you were saying, in college he didn't have that production.
He didn't
have those numbers. He didn't have that pedigree coming in the NFL. People saw him as a project, and do you know what? He was not a project.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the next draft pick, pick 5, round 5, pick 139, defensive lineman Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. And I'm going to play you a short clip, and you'll hear the audio here. This is from Todd McShay. I love this.
That's my guy. He went at the beginning of the that was my favorite pick of all of it. Hey, Vikings fans, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. He's arguably like top 3 or 4 most physically 5-star, right? Had a couple injuries early on. Find me a guy in round 5 who has more upside than Tyrion Ingram Dawkins.
I'm sold.
I'm sold.
Dude, sign me
I
up
wish
for that
he had more
also.
production. I wish that he had been able to find the field more, because like until the last year before he got drafted, he was basically a backup. They weren't using him at all. So he might be one of those project guys we're talking about that might take a little bit to get into the lineup and make some moves and be able to contribute, but we'll see.
We're also talking, what we say, 5th round draft pick?
Right.
So usually when you're in the 5th round, you're talking about guys who are developmental guys that you're going to bring along and aren't necessarily expected to start right away.
True.
Lance Zierlein, I believe he was a former special teamer in the NFL. He's working for oh no, that's Greg Zierlein. So it might be his brother, because that's a particular name. I'm sure they are related somehow. But he says lack of experience shows up with inconsistent instincts in the run game and lack of development as a rusher. But he possesses an impressive blend of size and suddenness that allows him to attack blocks and shoot gaps. He's a bender with excellent range and change of direction. He offers more flash than finish as a pass rusher, but he has all the tools.
What does that mean? Or flash than finish?
I guess that means the tools are there, but
he's not quite refined, you know.
Yeah, he's not a technician yet, which he can get to. But he has all the tools to get after pockets when his hands approach and get trained up. He's also scheme and position versatile with loads of upside. So
I love it.
He has a wider gap between his ceiling and floor relative to his fellow D line prospects. So that's cool. I'm down with it. Whoever these nerds are and analysts that say, "Hey, I've watched tape on 400 dudes in the last 2 years, and I like this guy the best," I'll take his word for it. I like Thomas Day.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it that was a good pick.
You gotta admit, that'd be a pretty fun job, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be very redundant, but I would love it because you every time it's like a lottery pick. You're like, I wonder how this person's going to look. Like you'll be excited about so many players.
You know what I've always wondered about, like, the scouts for the Vikings or whatever? Is there a guy who, like, is it your job to be, like, the wide receiver scout? Like, I watch all the wide receivers. Like, do you just hone in on one position? Or do you just, like, bounce around? Like, how does that work?
Well, you hear stories all the time from scouts like, I was asked to watch this guy, but as I was watching that guy jumped off the tape at me, and I think we should look at that guy. And you hear that story a lot.
I don't know. They have to travel a lot. I know I told a really fun story about a Buccaneers draft. What is it? I forget. A scout. I wanted to say draft and prospect for some reason there, but a scout that I met here a couple years ago, still in the Zimmer era, so it was a while back, but telling me that Dalvin Cook story about how he was almost a Buccaneer until the Vikings did a crack deal.
Was that the guy who shit on Kellen Mond?
No, that Chris Sims is the guy who shit on Kellen Mond.
I thought you met someone.
He shit on Spencer Rattler. That's who you're thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah,
Poor Kellen Mond, by the way, got benched by the San Antonio Brahmas last week.
You can say poor Kellen Mond, but he's a shit football player. So, not really.
Not particularly.
I mean, when you have 37 passing yards in a game, that's not great.
It's not great.
We could put Kyle Smith in a football game.
And you know something even worse? The
you could probably have 40 yards passing
last
right?
year.
What did you say?
The Brahmas were in their championship game last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now they are at the absolute bottom of the league.
I was going to say, it can't be thanks to him. That's wild. Kobe King was the next pick from the Vikings, round 6, pick 201. Really excited.
He passes the name test.
Yeah, Lance Zerline, another thing, because I'm on Vikings.com, and it gives you a quick overview. He says he has potential to become a starter. Good in the run game, but falls prey to missed tackles in the open field. Can be exploited on passing downs, but you're going for a lot of upside here. The good thing about the Vikings' current defensive room is they have some pretty damn good linebackers there. So they can coach him up and mentor him while the coaches refine his stuff there. But I heard nothing but good things about this pick from the pundits around the league, and then also the other Vikings channels. They were really pumped on this pick. I want to see him find a way, and this will be, like I said, a special teams plant that we got to water and see if he grows into a starting linebacker.
Yeah.
Like
At that point in the draft, that's what you do. You grab those players and see what you can get out of them.
Absolutely. Can we pause on linebackers here for a minute? I wanted to ask Adam if he had heard the rumors that Eric Kendricks might have been floating around, a potential Vikings reunion on social media, and what you would
Adam
think of
Patrick
that.
just posted thing on on the Viking Age about that, and it feels like it's either going to be some sort of reunion with the Vikings or that he's thinking about hanging up his cleats. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that video, there's definitely something behind it, or it feels like there's something there.
That was where I read that, was over on the Viking Age, that article by Adam Patrick. And you know what? I think if Kendricks wants to come, he was productive last year for the Cowboys. If he kind of wants to come back as that veteran locker room leader kind of role for this team, a veteran minimum contract, I think he could still contribute to this roster.
I don't think you start him over either of the guys right now, but
no, you're definitely not starting him, but you're bringing him in as a veteran, like a rotational guy.
He was a starter last year in Dallas, right?
I think so. Yeah,
that's what I hate so much, because their defense was dog shit, but it was also like Zimmer coming back and getting his old players. He was totally doing the Spielman thing there, and it's like, that didn't work for you when the players were young. How are they going to be better now that they're older?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm good without him coming back, and it's not because I don't like him. I think we could probably get better talent in the room, but I also, if they do and they find a way and they could justify it, I'd be like, hey, you know better than I do. And
so in our chat on the Viking Age, we went back and forth on whether or not Eric Kendricks is an arguable Ring of Honor player. And I think he's almost there, but I don't know. Not
No.
quite.
I'm going to say no, even though I like his tenure with the Vikings. I don't think so.
I mean,
I
you could
just
make
don't
the
feel
argument
it.
he made all pro teams while he was in Minnesota.
I mean, he did.
I got to look at something real quick.
Well,
But then again, you also have like if Chad Greenway's not in there.
That's
right.
what I'm going to look up right now. If he's not in there, Eric Hendricks is not in there. It's not happening. So you got Jared Allen, Matt Blair, Bill Brown, Joey Browner, Bobby Bryant, Jerry Burns, Chris Carter, Chris Dolman, Dennis Green, Carl Eller, Jim Finks, Chuck Fordman, Bud Grant, Steve Jordan, Paul Krause, Jim Marshall, Randall McDaniel, Randy Moss, Alan Page, John Randall, Corey Stringer, Scott Studwell, Ahmad Rashad, Fran Tarkenton, Mick Tinglehoff, Kevin Williams, Ron Yeri, and Fred Zamberletti in there. I did not read off Chad Greenway. I am sorry, Eric Hendricks. You are not a Ring of Honor member. It's not possible.
Can you tell the history of the Minnesota Vikings without Eric Hendricks? You
Yes.
probably can. You probably can.
And that doesn't mean we don't like him. That doesn't mean he's trash. He was good for that era. When I think of the Mike Zimmer era, he is certainly one of the key players in that era.
Oh, him and Anthony Barr were a big part of that defense for quite a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those like it's one of those like when you have the conversation of is this guy a Hall of Famer or is he in the Hall of Good? Very good. Yeah.
Hall of Famous.
Yeah, there you go. Speaking of Hall of Famous, the very last pick in round 6, 202 for the Vikings this year, Pittsburgh tight end Gavin Bartholomew. I don't know anything about this kid, but I'm excited, and you have quite a historian-centric name. I love Bartholomew for some reason. It's fun to say.
I gotta admit, I already stopped watching the draft by the time I picked him, so I know absolutely nothing.
Oh, this is great. If you click on this currently on Vikings.com, Pittsburgh senior, maybe my computer's glitching, but you read it. Tight end Gavin Bartholomew, Pittsburgh senior, round 6, pick 202. It gives you the linebacker Kobe King's bio in here.
Oh.
Big productive inside linebacker who needs to play with good technique and size. I'm like, that's not who that is. But they picked up a tight end with the last one here. I think the elephant in the room we can talk about is they didn't.
Peterson?
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that. Yeah, they didn't take anybody in the secondary, and I know they had limited draft capital, but I don't know. I trust the process here. I don't think they're done. They'll add someone at some point, but I think they could have added a corner and a safety. I would have been very happy with it, but also it comes down to the value. You have limited resources this year, so I'm going to trust the process and hope that the front seven gets there enough where we don't have to rely on the corners and safeties.
And when I think about it, and when I think about the cornerback room, I get a little nervous and I look at the cornerback room on paper and I'm like, okay, there are some talented guys here. I don't know how they stack up, how they're gonna, put them on a depth chart, but there is talent there.
I'm trying to look it up. Fire Breather, I vehemently disagree with you there. He said that Everson Griffin should be in the Vikings Ring of Honor. No, sir. I believe Danielle Hunter had better stats than him, and he's not a runner.
I love Everson Griffin. He was one of my favorite players during his time on the Minnesota Vikings roster. Ring of
Honor. That was
Honor,
what I was joking at there, Fire Breather.
Ring of Honor, though, that really has to be celebrated for to quote Randy Savage, the cream of the crop, Adam. It's really got to be the tip-top players for the Minnesota Vikings. And I don't think you just put anyone into it. And I know Everson Griffin isn't just anyone. He's better than a lot of them we've had on this team, but I don't know if he's quite there.
And Vikings fans loved Everson Griffin. They loved Eric Hendricks. They loved Chad Greenway. These are guys that are beloved by fans, but they just aren't Ring of Honor guys. That's the problem.
I mean, I like Jarius Wright. That don't mean Jarius Wright needs to go in the Ring of Honor.
Danielle Hunter's going into year 10. He's only had 1 year in Houston. He did have a good year last year with 12 sacks. He has 99.5 sacks. So, yeah, Danielle Hunter did more with less time than that. And I'm not doing that to poo on you, Fire Breather, but these are for the absolute legends. And I think Everson Griffin was just he was a fun player in that era, but he wasn't that. He wasn't a guy. Like he wasn't like, oh shit, the defense is going to be so lost without him. He was good for that era, though. I did love like his personality. His
Yeah.
personality was awesome.
Remember
Oh,
the
yeah.
Jets game after was it an overtime win against the
Jarius
Jets?
Wright,
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater to Jarius Wright. I think it was a screen or something like that down the right sideline, and I was dying laughing. Oh, I have to give my ex-wife a shout out. She texted me today, and I was at work, and I saw two messages go off, and immediately my brain is like, "Oh God, something bad happened." So she was at the airport today in Minneapolis, and Madison is in the line in front of her, like coming back, and she's like, "I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack." I was like, "Get a picture with him." She's like, "No, I don't want to be that person." And I'm like, "You're better. You're a better human than me." I would have been like, "Hey, after security, can I please get a photo? I'm a big fan." Try to time it right. Don't be like, oh, it's a Viking player. Like, you don't have to do it that way. But I have to give her a shout out today. She sent a photo. I was like, yeah, it's definitely him, man. He's going somewhere to have a good time, going on vacation. But thought that was funny. I was like, he's right there. Have a conversation. But
Yeah.
and she's like, nobody else in line noticed. I'm like, most people won't. These guys are regular people too. Most of the time, they're just taller than us. It's really funny.
I mean, I won't lie. If I was at the grocery store and Jordan Addison walked right by me, I don't know if I would recognize him. I
Right.
really don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that he was in the
I'm not that
line
guy either. I wouldn't recognize anybody really.
I thought
I
it was
mean,
funny he was in the line with all of us poors, and it was like, he's gonna get that Jefferson money so he can fly private.
there's a few players, obviously. Like, if you were right next to JJ McCarthy, you'd probably recognize him. Justin Jefferson, I feel like you would probably recognize Justin Jefferson. But
Okay, I can't fit all this on the screen, so we're gonna have to scroll
I
down.
will take a minute to dive away from the Vikings, and I will congratulate the Minnesota Timberwolves on knocking the Los Angeles Lakers out of the NBA playoffs.
They
I
tried to
love
get
it.
that game away last night, and the Lakers
Damn.
didn't. They just didn't want it enough, dude. It was wild. I love that. I
Don't
hate it.
like the.
I hate it for LeBron because I know I would like to see him win one more and be like, I'm hanging it up. I got 5. I tied Kobe. Like LeBron is
You can tell he
underappreciated.
wanted to go out on top.
Yeah, he wants to go out on top. But they got rid of the one thing they needed last night, which was hilarious. They needed a big man and didn't have one because they fucking traded him. So I thought that was
Gobert
hilarious.
dominated.
Yeah. I hope the Wolves go to the finals, man. I'm not even a Wolves fan. I grew up in Charlotte. I stay loyal to my teams no matter what. I can't divorce them, but it's hard not to be a Vikings fan and not root for the Wolves. But the Hornets are dog shit, so go T Wolves.
And they most likely go up against Seth Curry next round, right? The
Steph
Golden State
Curry and
Warriors.
the Warriors, yeah. That'll be interesting. That'll be another challenge.
Whew.
They had a gauntlet last year too, man. I think they threw off the Nuggets in the semis, and then they got to the Western Conference Finals, and the Mavs beat them, and they ultimately lost because the Celtics were going to win. But
It's definitely a fun time to be a Minnesota sports fan, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Wild are pretty good. The Timberwolves are a lot of fun. The Vikings got some exciting pieces and some pieces on the uprise here. I don't think the Twins are very good, but I don't watch baseball anyway.
Hey, a couple years ago, I got to watch them win their first playoff game in like 20-something years, so that was cool. Or playoff series, that was cool. So they at least were good, relatively recent. I'm going to put this up now, and I'll scroll down real quick. I am not reading all of this, but I just wanted to let you know and see that they did get some undrafted free agents, and they are here. Hometown boy, Max Brosmer, quarterback. This is a shout out to Vikings Wire. These are fun facts from each of the Vikings undrafted free agents. So you got an edge out of BYU, O-line from Wisconsin with only 5 sacks given up in 1,400 pass blocking snaps. I love that.
I like that.
Wide receiver, linebacker from Georgia. Another Chaz linebacker. I wonder if he was a quarterback before. Tight end, O-line again. A punter. Offensive lineman from North Carolina State. There is a corner. Oh, my God. They got a corner. They got 2. Wow. Nice.
Samaya
Vaughn. What a good name. All right. And then last one is a defensive lineman from Middle Tennessee State. So That's fun. Shout out to Vikings Wire for us stealing your stuff and me being lazy. Those are your undrafted free agents. So the Vikings did acquire a lot of talent. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So, do any of those guys make the roster? I don't know. But I'll tell you this:
You know,
they
based
never.
on I don't like that screen. Based on based on recent history, someone from that undrafted class will make this roster. They've had pretty good luck finding talent out there, dude.
I like it, dude.
Ivan Pace Jr. made the roster, so someone.
Dwight McLaughlin made the roster.
Yeah.
Guys, did you hear about that one wide receiver from Mankato State? Adam Thielen made the roster. Do you guys want to hear his story really quick?
I think he had to pay to attend some kind of workout, wasn't it?
I should have. When I talked to him this year, I should have said that. I'm like, oh my god, I know your story. Weren't you undrafted? Didn't you have to pay? And just have him lie to me and smile and roll his eyes and be like, I got to talk about this shit again. Oh man, I'm excited. They didn't have a lot of draft capital. I think that they did what they had to do to make the value work, and I think that's an overall theme you have to look at. I wanted to talk about this maybe Saturday or Sunday, but we obviously weren't going to do the show then. If you're a nerd about stuff in the way that I am, you kind of look and see how things are and what they're, and you can see each team's personality and their footprint. Like I love the Rams approach a couple years ago because they were like, "Fuck those picks. We're going to get Pro Bowl players. We know they're a commodity. We don't care about the draft. We're going to go get Jalen Ramsey and all these guys." And it ended up working. It can work for some of the franchises around the league. I'm glad that the Vikings are doing a healthy mix of the draft and free agency. Saw some teams where I'm like, I'm not sure what in the hell you're doing. Cleveland, looking at you. And they got some good players this draft, but, I'm just glad the Vikings aren't, at least in the draft process every year now, where we're scratching our head being like, am I actually going to watch a game this year? Because right now you don't know what you're doing. So how do I know on the field you're going to produce? So they're not in that state, which is something to be thankful for. But overall, I'm happy with these picks. I'm excited to see.
What do you think of Minnesota's mantra for this season? The whole "more is required" stuff.
I don't know.
Because I didn't know that was their mantra for this season.
I didn't until you said that. That's cool.
I don't hate it.
Certainly, it's good to pick off from last year because there was more to be required in those last two games that were dog shit to watch. Oh man, that one was fun. It fizzled out just like we predicted. I love being heartbroken. And I'm ready to do it all over again. Because you know what? They're undefeated right now.
Another Randy Moss prodigy here is coming to the Vikings on an invite, I heard.
Yeah, I heard about this too, Adam.
I mean, it's not Thaddeus, but what are you going to do?
I did not know he had another son that played football.
I didn't know either until I saw that stat line or the name.
Was he invited to their training camp, off-season activities here? Was he signed to the roster?
Main wide receiver Montego Moss will try out at Vikings rookie minicamp.
Montego Moss.
So, yeah.
So he's getting himself a tryout.
Yeah, he got an invite.
Gotta love that.
I mean, what is it?
And I kind of like the name Montego.
Yeah, I do too.
It is a fun name.
Doesn't hurt anyone. Come on into training camp, catch a few passes, give us a shot. Let's see what you can do. It doesn't.
Well, you always
we're not hurting anything.
Maine University wide receivers.
Yeah,
that's what I always say. That's cool though. I love the lineage and giving him a chance. So that's a cool story.
And Chris Carter in the news right now for being a little critical of Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I like that. I like Chris Carter.
What? For everybody that's simping for him out there, a little bit of pushback is going to be fine. He's going to be okay. And I'll echo what all the trolls say in the comments. It doesn't have anything to do with why we're saying what we're saying, but he has more money than I'll ever know about. So good for him. But that's not the point of anything we're saying. So I just want to point that out, trolls. You thought it's like that Bart Simpson meme. It's like, or the GIF, at least you tried on the cake. It's like, yeah, I mean, you said words. They don't have any value and they don't mean anything. Yeah. But you did say some words. Congratulations.
But you also got John Randall saying, it don't matter where or when or if you get drafted.
I know. Right. I love that post. I don't know if you're referring to that, but he posted the other day. It was like, you don't need one of these. You don't have to be drafted to get one of these. So pretty cool for talking about his gold jacket. So that's pretty sweet.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that'll do it, boys.
Fun.
what else did we didn't miss anything. I don't think we missed any of the players and I mean all the interesting stuff that happened. Now we're going into that fun part of the year where we talk about a bunch of nothing. So
Well, we got that rumor going on right now about Asante Samuel Jr. about him possibly coming to Minnesota, but he's dealing with that injury, so it might be a little more complex.
I would love that as a signing. Oh, that would be awesome. Before we leave, let's see how much cap space they have.
You guys don't want to talk about Bill Belichick and his 20-year-old girlfriend?
Hey, good for him.
24 years old, and I swear that she's got. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She's like his handler now. It's weird.
Yeah, I know. It's elder abuse, dude.
So they haven't signed.
I've been taking like some of his collected jerseys and turning them into crop tops and stuff like that.
So they haven't signed all of these draft picks and undrafted free agents yet, but right now, as it sits today on May 1st, they have $17.25 million in cap space. So they do have some coin lying around. We'll see.
Recently, Kwesi said that he's really excited about working with Jeff Okuda and seeing what he can do in Minnesota. And I know, like, he busted out in other places, but sometimes all it takes is a change of scenery and maybe working with a new scheme or a new coordinator, and they can find their footing. So hopefully that'll be the case.
We're just the homeless shelter here. We're just taking everybody in and be like, we have a home for you. Come on in. You need a place? I love that we're like the rehab center for NFL players. I hope it keeps working.
When you got players that have potential, have that kind of skills and everything, I mean, why not take a stab at it and see what you can do?
I know I said this about and jokingly about it being a rehab center or whatever, but I really do. It speaks to the coaching. It really does. And I hope it happens more around the league. I genuinely mean that because you always look at the what ifs. Like, I like to shit on Piper because I don't know where he got the idea of like where he got anointed to be like, well, he's a draft expert. He's not good at his job at all. He's like a weatherman. And I love that they always throw up the thing like, well, if Jimmy Clausen's not a pro and he's not an all-timer, then I should retire. Well, you should have retired years ago. He was in the league for 5 years. But I also, to the flip side of that, say I hope more teams will do what the Vikings are doing because there's so many players in the what ifs. If like, what if they didn't go to this team? You wonder like if they would have had a second chance. But they're actively doing that in Minnesota.
That's a fun question. Let's stick with the quarterback position. Who is your what if? Like, what if they were drafted into a better scenario? Like, do you think their career would have turned around? I'm going to go with Vince Young. Man, I tell you what, going to that Jeff Fisher Titans team was a bad fit for Vince Young. I wish he could have got a better opportunity with a better coach and a better organization. Because I tell you what, he looked good. I don't think he was quite mature enough. But if he could have, like, had that better situation with that coach and just, like, been able to stick around a little bit longer in the league, Vince Young should have had a hell of a lot better career than what he did in the NFL.
And I don't think there's any question that, like, Houston was rushing their rebuild when they chose David Carr at number 1 overall because they had that number 1 overall pick. And they said, we got to take a quarterback. Their line wasn't ready. Their offensive coordinator wasn't ready. Their weapons weren't ready. They brought a quarterback in, and they fed him to the wolves.
Yeah.
Kyle, I'm going to use a very obvious and, hey, it proved itself right literally the next year. But just to echo your point, Matt Stafford, I wish he went to a different team.
Yeah.
You surrounded with talent for 1 year, and he's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I'm really fucking good at it. He's still really good at this. But he was on a dog shit team for 10 years. And it's like, I feel bad for him, honestly. I'm glad he got a ring. I'm sad that we couldn't have. I'm glad we got Kevin O'Connell. Like, there's a lot of positives that came out of that. But imagine if he would have just went, 5 or 6 spots down. Like, if he would have went to Carolina instead of Cam Newton, maybe he would have took him to a Super Bowl. Maybe he would have won. He certainly would have fell on the ball that fumbled. You see how long I set that one up. But, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind because I was thinking of Vikings quarterbacks. And I couldn't really think. Like, Teddy Bridgewater kind of fit here. I was going to say Sam Bradford, but that's health, not team and scheme. Yeah, that's the first thing I think of. Like, when you put him in a situation with a competent coach, which Detroit didn't really have, and then actual talent, it's like, oh shit, I can win a Super Bowl with this dude. That's kind of crazy. Weird how that works.
And you got franchises that just can't develop quarterbacks for the life of them. Like the Jets, the Bears.
Cleveland.
Any quarterback they draft just doesn't seem to work out, and I don't get why. It's not that the quarterbacks aren't talented. Is it like a problem within the franchise? Because it's not just like a temporary thing either. It's not like, oh, Bears quarterbacks haven't developed in the last 5 years. It's like, no, it's been the whole course of their franchise. And why?
Yeah, I don't know. Matt Leinart in Arizona was another quarterback. I really wanted to believe in him, and I did. I thought that he was going to be really good. What if he doesn't go to the basically poverty Arizona Cardinals? Like, what if he ends up on another team? But then they signed Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner wills that franchise to a Super Bowl. Like, I don't know, dude.
Tom Brady didn't go to the Pats. He's not the GOAT. It's not even a question. I think he probably would have found his way to start somewhere for sure because of the work ethic. But that relationship fit so precisely good together with him and Belichick. There's no chance he's the GOAT. But yeah, Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl, played a very bad game. I know, dude. That's the genius of Belichick. That game, that high flying offense scored 3 points the whole game. Crazy. That's crazy. McMahon was the only good one for the Bears. That's crazy, dude. That's insane. Yeah, we can do that. Actually, I'll do my homework on that. We'll talk about it on the next episode. That's crazy. A quarterback you know was good, but he just had bad luck because of where they were. That's a good question, Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this in here. I thought I did it earlier, but I did not. So we'll do it now because we have eyeballs and ears listening. Please get online now. Go on YouTube and like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. You'll get notified. I schedule these shows in advance on Facebook as well. You can do some sort of notification there for posts for us. But please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling bold, which will help get our views up, share it on your social media. Hey, I listened to the Purple People podcast today. I get my Vikings stuff here, yada, yada. Or, hey, I just like the Vikings and this is a cool show. But if you can expose that to more people, we'd love to have more of your friends and our type in here. So please let us know.
Sorry for making you guys wait so long for this show, but I was out of town after the draft, and I was taking a nice little mini vacation, so I appreciate you guys waiting on me.
Not a problem, man. Kyle and I wanted to take like a little stretch anyways. I think Kyle and I were getting a little burnt out every week, like every single week doing it, but worked out fine. I think all of the opinions that you could possibly have, especially with Shador and all that, are out. And now we can have our format, which I love, which is let's have a casual conversation like you're at the bar with your friends at a Viking bar. You know what I mean? Like,
and during the offseason, I don't think we need to be strict about like, okay, every week we must do a show every 7 days or else. I don't think that's necessary.
But we'll be here and we'll talk about fun stuff because I get excited once they actually show up. You're like, all right, man, who's making the roster? That's something we've always done on this show. And then you start hearing about rumors in camp, like, oh, this person's emerging.
I've been hearing Justin Jefferson ain't going to show up to camp. Not right now, anyway.
Well, that just means he wants to get traded. That's all that means, Adam. He wants to leave, and he's not a team player, and he's just a selfish person,
There is always...
And again, Kirk Cousins is not throwing to his Vikings teammates down in Florida right now, so...
we had to talk about Kirk at some point in an episode. Oh, we almost made it. I love
off-season drama that's just a big nothing burger.
Yeah. So
now, there's always a surprise or two for who makes the roster or who's going to get cut. But this year in particular, I feel like the three of us could sit down right now and come up with a 53-man projection for this roster, and it would be pretty damn close, like within the 95 percentile of what this roster is going to look like. I don't think there's a lot of surprises coming our way, other than that maybe a one or two kind of like standout in training camp from this undrafted class who might make a name for themselves. But I don't see a lot of really big surprises this year.
The biggest question right now is probably Josh Oliver. I don't know if they're going to keep him at the salary he's making right now.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's going to be half casualty, I don't know. And that one's going to be an interesting one to watch because I like him a lot, but he is getting paid handsome.
There's a ridiculous. Okay, I know we're going long, but I wanted to bring this up too. There's this ridiculous question that Brian O'Neill is overpaid. I've seen this on social media that the Vikings need to we need to move on from Brian O'Neill, that he's overpaid and he needs to be like a casualty of the salary cap. I don't agree with that at all. He's only going to be 30 years old. He's the prime of his career at your right tackle position. Come on, he's really flipping good.
It's an important position, but also before we got Justin Jefferson, he was the second best player on the team, not named Harrison Smith.
Right.
Yeah. You're not
and
moving on.
That was not a Kirk slander. I like Kirk. Yeah, he was really good. He was at the most important, but you got to think before Jefferson broke out, I would say. First person we thought of, basically before Darisaw got there, you're like, oh, it's Brian O'Neill. He's fucking awesome. He was great for years. I don't know who said that and where you saw it, but
it's on social media. It's being discussed.
You know what? I'm gonna be the overlord here and say you get your First Amendment rights taken away. You don't get to talk anymore. Shut up. Brian O'Neill rules.
It's nice to know that I'm not the only one who thinks that's a stupid discussion, because I'm like, maybe there's something I'm missing here, but
if he goes down with an injury, like season-ending injury, we are hitting the fucking panic button. Oh shit! Because the next guy up on the team is like, he ain't that good. He's nowhere near that good. So you're going to have to go and trade for somebody, or if it's past the trade deadline, then you're like, well, boys, we got a problem. We're going to be scooping with our water pail as the Titanic goes down. Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
So
one last draft thought from me is that the Vikings weren't going to make a lot of massive changes to this franchise in the 4 or 5 picks they had. So what they did was they went out and they improved the places they wanted to improve, and they got players that are high potential individuals that they thought could become contributors, and I'm pretty happy with that.
That's all you can ask for. They didn't get fleeced. They didn't reach on anyone. I love that they got a not sexy pick. That's the only reason people were dogging on our draft. First of all, we've said this 100 times. Anybody with common sense, you cannot judge a draft until 3 years later, at minimum.
Yeah,
I think it's the length of a rookie contract, which is 4 years. That's just
instant reactions and grades.
So stupid. So it's wild to do that and think that, but yeah, it's a not sexy pick, and they didn't have a lot of picks to begin with. So unless you just got the absolute steal of the draft, like Howie Roseman again did it, which pisses me off that the Eagles got a fucking great player again. Yeah, take the not sexy pick and protect your rookie that's coming off an injury at quarterback. How is that a bad thing? I don't understand that. I'll say this. You said it, Kyle, like we could make a roster, we could talk about it. I'm looking at the wide receiver 3 spot between Jalen Naylor and possibly Ty Felton. And
that's a good competition out there.
I want to see it because both of them are speedy as shit, and we know Jalen Naylor he came out of his shell last year. It's like, oh shit, he's really good.
And you also got that wide receiver we signed too.
Yeah.
For Rondale Moore.
There we go.
Ah, that's it. Okay, I was like, did we sign another one I forgot about? Yes, Rondale Moore. Wide receiver room is going to be great. And then I'm looking to see past Jonathan Allen and who else did we sign for the D-line? Hargrave?
Yep.
Javon Hargrave. I'm looking to see past him, those two, and then Harrison Phillips. I want to see which of the rookies push for that D-line room because there's some beefcakes on that line now, and I'm really excited to see who edges their way in to not be on the practice squad. Those are the 2 position groups I will be looking at and reading about every day.
I think my big takeaway for this offseason and this draft for the Vikings is kind of what I said at the beginning of the show. Not since have I seen the Vikings trade for Steve Hutchinson have I seen them be this aggressive to fix the offensive line in one off season. Now, like I said before, I'm not saying that every position that they addressed is going to be A+ across the board. We don't know. But on paper, man, they've tried about as hard as they can try to address the offensive line, and I will give them all the credit in the world for finally pulling the trigger on upgrading at your center position and upgrading at your guard positions. And I think we've got 2 real good tackles out there in your right and left tackle. And I love what they've done on that offensive line. And I think that you're putting JJ McCarthy in the best possible position for him to succeed. You've tried with the line. You've given him an excellent set of skill position players out there. You were trying to let this kid succeed, and so I applaud them for all the moves that they've made right now.
Well, what a lot of fans don't think about is that a good offensive lineman makes your quarterback better, makes your passing game better, it makes your running game better.
Yeah.
It does all those things, and people forget about that. They think, oh, it's just a big guy in the trenches. Kind of, like, yeah.
This is a fire breather nailed it. It's Twitter. I deleted my Twitter. I don't have it anymore because of this right here. You can't play. I've said it on this show more than once. The Vikings could win the Super Bowl, and the fans of this team would bitch about how they won it. This team, like the fans, don't deserve this team, even though they've broken our hearts in weird fashion every year. Just the nonstop complaining. It wears me down, man. I hate it so much. You're exactly right. The draft in the first round. Well, I don't like that. Why did we get what we needed a quarterback? Wait, that's not how the draft works. You don't get every pick. What are you talking about?
My last little rant is that, and Adam knows this because we've had this discussion for ages on this podcast. Offensive line is a boring position to draft for because there's not a flashy tape that you can sit here as a fan and watch. I mean, when you draft a wide receiver, when you draft a corner, you have a highlight reel. I mean, even if you're talking about a 5th round wide receiver, you have a highlight reel where you're like, oh, that guy looks exciting. That looks thrilling. You watch the highlight reel for an offensive lineman in the 1st round. It's not fun. It's not fun. I know it's not fun. But these are the tools that you need for your young quarterback and for your team to succeed.
But what comes after that offensive lineman does his job? What always comes after that, Kyle? A big play.
Yeah.
You like those, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to explain and make the fans eat their vegetables, and that just proves like how dumb we are as fans. It really is. There are levels to fans that are smart. I think we're all smart. I think we're better than the bottom of the barrel that just complain about everything.
And I think our listeners are above average football intelligence too, and that's one thing I
think
really
so
love.
Too. Yeah.
That's like-minded people to come on here. I don't think there's anybody that said anything in any of our shows that's been like, we kind of turn our head like, what? No. It's crazy that, we have to explain the obvious, but I feel like that's the whole thing with social media.
Football IQ is not easy to come across these days.
It's not. All right, guys, let's get out of here. I need some food.
Yeah, me too.
All right, you can check out my work over on the Viking Age. There's lots of interesting stuff going up there. I know it's kind of the off-season now in between the draft and training camp, but there's still plenty to talk about, and we will be discussing stuff, so go check it out. Go click on some articles, and every click will help me put some kibble in my kitty's dish, so I appreciate that.
I'm doing it right now.
At and Viking Zombie on social media, whether that's Twitch or X or Instagram or TikTok until that gets taken away. Who knows?
MySpace.
Hey,
Skype.
I can still get into my MySpace.
Skype.
Add me on AOL Instant Messenger, BRB, G2G.
I am so glad we're not on Skype anymore.
Why?
Skype doesn't even exist anymore.
Those are our best episodes, Adam. What do you mean?
Ooh.
Those are rough. Those are really rough. Especially the time when you record one and you think it's going and then you don't, so you have to do the entire hour again. That was fun.
Please don't remind me.
Hilarious. Kyle West
although we did have that excellent podcast about the supplemental draft that I don't even know if that's a thing anymore. About who was that passed out in the Taco Bell drive-thru?
Gordon.
Josh Gordon. That was. I still think that's maybe the funniest episode that Adam and I ever recorded. Was that Josh Gordon episode? That one you guys should go back and listen to. You should follow me on Blue Sky, also at Vaguely Square.
Hey, I'm on Blue Sky too, and Kyle West is actually active on there. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, you should follow me. I am watching Walking Dead, and I need someone other than Adam to discuss Walking Dead about. So follow me on Vaguely Square, and let's talk about a show that was really popular like 15 years ago.
Oh, the spin-offs are still going, though.
There you go.
I don't watch them, but they're there.
I was clicking on 3 of Adam's articles, so there you go. Reading through. I specifically like the one about the former Viking coach hyping up Jackson, our draft pick, so you should go check that out.
Very cool.
That'll do it. Send us out, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I love that we had some good eyes on this show the whole time. I appreciate that.
You betcha.
I love the interaction as well. Thank you for hanging out and chatting wherever you're at, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or on my personal Twitch. I appreciate you guys all hanging out, and we will do it again soon. So in the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.